Munir was born on May 13th, 1986. He was born in Maryland. So we stayed there for maybe a couple of years. Then after that, we moved back to Newark, New Jersey. I've always made it possible for her to stay home and raise the kids. But this particular time, we were living in a very affluent area, and, financially it cost. So we placed Munir into a daycare center in Newark, New Jersey. Well, while he was in that daycare center, an aide gave him a bottle from another baby, and Munir contacted spinal meningitis, pneumococcal pneumonia, and it made him so ill to the point where he was on his deathbed. And one day they called us and told us to come to the hospital because they didn't think he was going to make it through the night. So while we were in there, and we were praying over him, an Asian doctor walked in the door. It must have been like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. The doctor came in, he looked. My mother and father was afraid because I was sick. He said that they had an experimental medicine that they wanted to try. But if it worked, he'd had a 50-50 chance of living. He'd either be blind, he'll either be paralyzed, or he would either be completely deaf. So they gave him the medicine, and they had to keep him in a dark room. Couldn't even open the blinds. He just stayed in darkness completely. So within a couple of weeks, he started coming around. So after about a month or so, because he stayed in the hospital for over a couple of months or more, then we were able to take him home. But when we were taking him home, he was completely paralyzed on the right side of his body.
That they realized, that something was wrong, and told my parents that I was deaf. I think it happened so sudden.
He said, I've been deaf and things have changed. When I was 3 years old, I couldn't walk. My father helped me, picked me up, carried me, and we walked. He used to drag this leg. He used to drag it. He used to drag the leg. So I bought him a bicycle, a little two-wheeler with no training wheels. So Munir would pedal with one leg, and he'd drag the other leg. So after a lot of practicing of riding the bike, Munir picked up his leg and put it on the bike and started pedaling with both legs. So one day, I took him outside to ride his bike, and Munir picked his leg up and put it on the bike and took off. And I had to run to catch him because he was gone. He was going far. So after that he finished, he kept practicing, riding his bike, to the point where he improved.
I mean, it just happened so fast, the recovery. I mean, I was a normal kid again, just jumping up and down and doing the things that I would normally do, that a kid my age would be doing.
I come from a family of athletes. What I used to do with Munir is, I used to take him and all my boys, and we used to go, and play ball. And at that particular time, I was an avid basketball player. So Munir would play basketball and swim, play pool at the YMCA every day. And he had friends. But he would be the only deaf kid there. and all the other kids would be hearing. So Munir had became accustomed to growing up with hearing people. When a person is deaf, the parents put them in a deaf school and they leave them. It's like, okay, he's not my problem anymore. He is the school's problem. So whatever troubles, problems, psychological changes that they go through, the parents don't even deal with it because they're not dealing with their kid. But Munir was different. Munir wouldn't tolerate staying in a residential school. Moved to NC, North Carolina, and went to school, to the deaf school, Eastern School for the Deaf. He said, I didn't like them. He said, there always trouble. They would lie. He said, so. He said, I went in there one day, they pulled the fire alarm, and they blamed him. They said Munir did it. He said, so I would go to class. He said, and they was slow, long. He said it was hard to learn. He said, so my mother and father helped me. We changed school. We didn't like it in North Carolina. Because we tried putting them in the school in Stanton, Virginia. Munir was in class. Munir walked out the class and was walking down the street. Teachers had to run out and catch him and ask him where he was going. He said he was going home. So we had to come up to Virginia and get him out of there. We put him in North Carolina, into a school in North Carolina, and he cried. He just cried and he just was miserable, you know.
And I don't know, I mean, I was really scared. My parents weren't there anymore with me. It was like, you know, such a shocking reality. It's like, what happens? And I mean, it was so frustrating. I remember just not knowing how to sign and people making fun of me and...
You know, so we ended up taking them out of there. So it was very cruel because being left there by themselves, you know, and made to suffer and be with people that are not your family, and some people care about you but most of them don't, and then all the other things that go on inside private schools that you don't hear about, you know, abuse and neglect and all these things that they make the kids become accustomed to so they can maintain control. So Munir just was not one of those, and we was not those kind of parents. I had a very, very affluent business. I was doing pretty well for an African-American young man. So because Munir was going through the changes that he was going through, I shut my business down. I shut it totally, completely down. Where we lived at to the school was like an hour and a half one way. I transported Munir every day to school. And while he was in school, I stayed there. Took him out of this school of North Carolina, Eastern School for the Deaf, North Carolina Eastern School for the Deaf, was because they told me and my wife, myself and my wife, that kids like Munir would never go to college. They told us that. And we was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, because all of my children are going to college. And it don't make no difference whether he's deaf or not, he's going to college. They said, well, you know, a lot of these children never go past the 3rd grade as far as their reading skills. I went to the Board of Education, my wife and I, and we told them that we was not happy with the situation, you know, that they needed to do something, and they just totally just blew us off. So we contacted a lawyer, and we brought people in, advocates in from Washington, D.C., and we went on a fight.
And anytime somebody says anything biased or derogatory, I come busting up in the school or anywhere else. I don't even let it go. So he's always saw me in fight mode all the time, me and his dad. So he stays in that mode also. So the things that he likes to do, some people just shake their head because they're like, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I'll get really upset if you say that. And he stayed that way. So I think this is why he's gone so far.
We tried to sue the school for not providing him with not providing him with a sufficient education, which was his American right.
I even took a couple of deaf moms to meetings so they could see how to fight, but they don't listen to anything that we're saying. They listen to the school system. I remember that they wrote a letter about me, and it was really bad, saying that I need some help in learning what deafness is or whatever. And so I took the letter we had another meeting to Gallaudet College, and I gave them a letter that said all these bad things about me. I don't know anything about disabilities. I don't know anything about being deaf. And when I took the letter there, they got up and just gave me a round of applause. They just started clapping. That what you're doing is how some deaf people become great, because they have parents, like you. The ones that sit back and listen to everything the school system says. Their children, you never see them in anything. They don't get degrees. They don't go to college. They don't do anything. And they have some of the highest drug rates, of young people, are deaf. A lot of on drugs.
What we did is we opened the doors for others and opened the doors for them to step up to the plate, and give them a proper education, because they're deaf don't mean that they're not entitled to be educated.
Alcohol and stay on Social Security or welfare or whatever. And I used to always tell Munir, it's like, if you don't go to school, you're going to work at McDonald's and mop floors. I just threaten him all the time like that. And he would look at me and say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I would just constantly say that to him, and he would just push on, to try to be the best he could be.
Then we moved to Florida. He said, my brother, we moved into my brother's house. So I was gone. My father was gone. He was away painting. I was working. So I was in school in Pinellas Park. When you came to Florida, right? You was a basketball player, and all your friends was waiting for you to come and play for Pinellas Park. Your mother called me and told me that when you went to practice, how you just destroyed everybody, just destroyed them. But the coach did not want you to come and play because you was deaf. So I went to practice to play basketball. The coach didn't like me. So I would run, I would practice, I would play. But no matter what I did, the coach didn't like me, told me to go away, get out. So I said, okay. I went to the football coach. Went to the football coach and asked the football coach, could I play? And the coach said, yeah. 9th grade class. I went to practice. He said, so I didn't know what to do. So the coach, K, helped me. He said, he told me how to get down. He told me how to stand. He told me how to run. He said I was doing a good job. Okay. So I never played JV. I played varsity from the 9th grade.
Pinellas Park Sr. is getting a lot of attention for his play on the football field, but what's amazing is how he's doing.
Yes, but as 10 News reporter Preston Rudy explains tonight, this young star never hears them or anything else.
At 6'3", 270 pounds, Munir Muwwakkil is hard to miss. Teammates will tell you he's even harder to block. He is the natural leader on the Pinellas Park Patriots defense.
He's the best we've had here since I've been here in 10 years.
Wheel, watch, wheel! Come game time, he is the player opponents fear. But when number 99 makes a great play, Munir doesn't hear a thing. In Munir's world, there is only silence.
I nail them and I look up and I see 99, 99. I can tell that everybody means, and they're all raising their hands because that's how you cheer for deaf people, and it's exciting.
By carefully watching the snap of the ball, Munir has tackled his disability and become an example to others.
If you have a disability, if you have something, a deformity of some kind, that shouldn't stop you from trying, and it hasn't stopped him.
An interpreter attends every game, and the head coach and even some players
You need to run that
have learned sign language to help communicate with their teammates. Robbed of his hearing, not his heart or determination, Munir has become one of the most sought-after recruits in the Bay Area. And while he's not sure yet where he'll go to school next year, the sound of those cheers will certainly follow, even if Munir can't hear them. In Pinellas Park, Preston Rudy, Tampa Bay's 10 News.
He said, so when I went to practice for weightlifting and shot put and track and the disc, he said, I went all over. I was good. He said, I played football. He said, all the stands, they would cheer for me this way by raising their hands and shaking it and saying I was good. I would win, win, win. He said, the shot put, I would win. He said, I would win all over. He said, yes, they like me. We played football, went to games. They used to tell me to come on, go there, let's go together. You know, let's get in. You know, the coach, he told me where to go, what to look, and how to play. He said all the team, they was there. They clapped for me. Oh, Pinellas Park. Went to school at Pinellas Park. Yeah, all over. Came to see me. I'm deaf. I walk around, I smile, I laugh. You know, and everybody was happy to see me. They knew. He's just deaf. So that shouldn't stop him from being an All-American football player, a professional football player, or a college graduate. So we expect a lot out of our children. He said, yeah, Christmas time, I had a hat on. I had a Santa Claus hat, and I used to go to all the little kids, you know, and talk and wave to them and be Santa Claus, and I walk around with them, you know, and talk to them and have fun.
The funniest part about that is that we practiced Islam, and Munir felt like, so what? I'm wearing this Santa Claus hat. I want a tree, not fake tree, real tree. He was the one that started his family pretty much celebrating Christmas, because he was like, what harm is it going to do? It's just making people happy. So that's how he felt. So he was this big guy. He walked all around the school the whole Christmas season during that winter with a Santa Claus hat. And he did it every year for 4 years, period. So we all thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay, slow and communicating. So we sign a little bit. So you write it down.
Okay.
You write it down, get to my friends. So the boys, they point and they play and they talk. Yeah, on the computer, I look in there. And I type it into the computer. You know, and I talk on the telephone. I communicate with all my friends. You know, and I tell them to come or where we're going, and I text them with my sidekick. And then Rosa helped me sign and practice for school in the classes. She found that a lot of the deaf agencies don't step up to the plate. So she took it upon herself to develop what they call the Deaf Literacy Center. And in the Deaf Literacy Center, she brings in deaf children and she teaches them how to read, how to communicate, life skills, things that will get them through life, teaches them and shows them that they can go off to college. So she was there for Munir, and she helped Munir. And Munir went there and he did his whole curriculum, high school curriculum, and was able to walk out of there with a diploma where he can enter college.
For years, for a long time I've been coming here.
Used to work here, work all around, coming in from school. So come on, follow me. He said, here's the sign. He said, okay, here's Rosa.
Hi there. Good. And you? Hi, my name is Rosa Rodriguez. My sign name is Rosa. And I have been the coordinator of deaf services in this public library for 12 years. We began this program in 1999 as a response to a group of deaf people coming into the library and there not being quality services for them. The first thing that we noticed was that many of them could read or write, so we decided to set up a literacy program. I met Munir in 2001, actually, and he came here looking for help again with literacy. Reading, writing, homework. He was a high school student at the time. I attended some of his football games, and since then we've become really close. I have helped him with numerous homeworks, testing, practicing. I came to the library like 4 times a week, just to, after going to school. I mean, I would go to school, finish my classes, and then drive here for her to tutor, to teach me English, reading and writing. There was this one woman, Nancy, who came 2 times a week, took her time out of her busy school schedule. I mean, she was a really, really cool lady, nice lady, who helped me, you know, with all kinds of papers and work and homework. Munir also comes to the library to volunteer and now help others, give back. Just like we helped him at the beginning, I remember meeting Munir in 2001 and him signing very little, writing very little, and just picking on him and making him do stuff. We got all this language out of him that he had hidden for so many years. The most memorable moment that I remember is this. I mean, I have to say, when he was in high school, he started coming here. Like I said, I made him work. He wasn't used to people doing this to him. I have to say, a few days he didn't like me very well. And then the day we got to all friends go to his game in high school. I mean, Munir wasn't in college. He wasn't playing for some fancy team. He was just a high school kid. And then just watching him have a deaf audience there with him, all his friends there, signing his autograph on their shirt. I mean, it was just so exciting to see how he, you know, was, for one, growing so much, because when I first met him, he would hardly even, you know, it's like, you know, I like this, I want to do that, but I guess I can't. It's like, no. You can if you want to, you just got to fight for it. And just see him now. He's like the best player of the team. His deaf friends are all there watching. He's so excited, so proud. I mean, he even got us an area where we were going to sit. He's telling everybody in the game, at the coach, you know, here are my friends. No, they got to be near me. And just watching that, because I'm sure he was there at those games so many times with all these hearing people. That, yeah, I thought he was cool, but nobody could communicate with him. I mean, he has learned to communicate so well with people that do not know any sign language, that it's amazing. Most deaf people are afraid. Munir wasn't afraid of anything. It's like, I'll find somebody to tell him this guy what I want, you know, one way or another. So I mean, that was an awesome, awesome moment. Like I said, there was nothing to be like, ooh, you know, here I am, I'm Mr. football player. It's like, I want my friends here and I'm going to get them here one way or another. And I remember he got us all tickets and here we are. And he was so proud. And that was when you were just beginning. Deaf people's biggest challenge is not the deafness itself. It's us, people around them. Looking at it down, thinking they can't do certain things without even giving them a chance to prove themselves. I mean, the biggest barrier to deaf people succeeding is actually other people. Ignorance, misconceptions, not understanding that they're a human being like everybody else, and that they can do everything that we do except for hear. And I want to thank Rosa for everything she's done. I love her for that. Even though I like to pick on you and make you do things sometimes that he doesn't want to. I know, she's like my second mom. Yeah, I like to yell at it. Yep, not easy. And believe me, my dad's strict, but this one. I mean, when I was 11, 12, college was never in my mind. I mean, I was really scared. When I got to high school, it's when I thought, wait a minute, everybody else is going to college. I definitely want to do this. But, I mean, as a young kid, I don't remember even thinking about it. Then I graduated from high school. And I thought, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was getting letters asking me to go to college. For him getting a letter from a college. And he's like, I want to show my teacher. And she said, you're never going to go to college. And the letter's in his hand, okay? I said, you know, your paycheck is going to be exactly the same. If the college is taking him, that is not your problem. You're here, do the high school thing. If they want to take him, that's their deal.